And pledge. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. Mr. Chaffin, do you have anything to report? We did not have closed session tonight. Was there anything you need to report out on?
We had no closed session tonight. In the last closed session, there was no reportable action. So we're good. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Any agenda modifications for this evening from the council? Okay, hearing none. All right, we will go on to agenda item 1, which is our ceremonial presentations. This is Hunger Awareness and Action Month. And I'd like to invite Naomi Cabral. I got it right. Who's our executive director for the Yuba-Sutter Food Bank. If you would join us down front with the council. All right, we are on. Thank you for being here tonight. Your request came over a couple of months ago, and really it brings a big spotlight on a huge need in our community, and that is hunger is a very important problem in our community, as well as with inflation and stuff, it's become even more a problem for our seniors and such. And I know that all of us up here, before we read the proclamation and from the city, realizes that you and your team at the food bank provide an incredible resource and do a heck of a job. So on behalf of all of us, before we get to this, let us extend a thank you. So with that, the proclamation, it reads, Hunger Awareness and Action Month, September 2022. Whereas the month of September has been designated as Hunger Awareness and Action Month in order to provide a unified opportunity for communities in Yuba City to focus attention on the persistent problem of food insecurity and to mobilize to create a movement to help end hunger in our city. And whereas, according to a study published by Feeding America in 2019, 13,170 residents of Sutter County did not always know where they would find their next meal, and 4,930 of them were children. And whereas many households in Yuba City experience hunger, and some people in these households frequently skip meals or eat too little, sometimes going without food for an entire day. And whereas research has shown that preschool and school-age children who experience severe hunger have higher levels of chronic illness, anxiety and depression, and behavioral problems than children receiving a well-balanced diet. And whereas food insecure seniors have lower nutrient intakes than food secure seniors, and without proper nutrients, seniors are at increased risk of disability, deteriorated health conditions, decreased resistance to infections, lengthened hospital stays, deteriorated mental health, and being underweight. And whereas utilization of emergency food assistance becomes a way for these individuals and families to keep food on the table while still paying the bills. And whereas in 2021, Yuba-Sutter Food Bank and its partners served on average each month 6,000 low-income Yuba City individuals and those facing a food emergency, distribution more than 1 million pounds of food to these households in need. Gotta flip the page. I have to write it bigger so I can read it. So now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Dave Shaw, Mayor of the City of Yuba City, on behalf of the entire City Council, do hereby proclaim September is Hunger Awareness and Action Month, and encourage the community to pledge to take action against hunger in our community, whether it be by fund, food donation, volunteering, or advocacy. Let's give them a hand.
On behalf of the Food Bank of Yuba-Sutter, we'd like to thank you as well for your support. And I think we could all stand behind food access being available to everyone. So thank you for supporting us.
Okay, we will come back to agenda item 2, which is public communication. Appearance of interested citizens. You are welcome and encouraged to participate in this meeting. Public comment is taken on action items appearing on the consent calendar or business items on the agenda when they are called. Public comment or any other comments within the scope of the city's jurisdiction, including items not listed on the agenda, will be considered at this time. Public comment is limited to 3 minutes per speaker. Members of the public submitting written requests at least 24 hours prior to the meeting will be allotted 5 minutes to comment per speaker. Repetitive comments may be limited, and large groups are encouraged to select representatives to express the opinions of the group. Prior to tonight's meeting, we have one written request for 5 minutes, and that's Mr. Piara Joel. You have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. My name is Paris Joe. I reside at 2088 Live Oak Boulevard. Now, I've been coming out here for almost 6 months and trying to say that the name that you have picked for the new park should not be there. And there are a lot of reasons. The person does not qualify to be named into the city of Yuba City as such. Now, the things I mentioned within that last 6 months are all true. The one that I have today is that he has named majority of the entities that he did under Guru's names, such as Stage Man talked about it at one time. There was a property on Lincoln Road, 7 acres. He named it Sri Guru Ram Das Khalsa School of Northern California, which is great. People thought that it was a nonprofit. It is listed as a nonprofit organization. But the title of the property is not given to them. It is still under Mr. Didar S. Bains and Santi Bains. Now, the president was named as Gurnam S. Pama. And there were 3 other gentlemen that were named in that corporation, which are all 3 in India. I think 1 or 2 maybe have died. But at the same token, he named it as a corporation, which is solely his. It does not belong to the public. It does. When you go out, just to explain, when you say any guru's name, the general Punjabi public will stand, will hold their hand and bow. That's how much it means to them. But for those money makers, it does not mean a darn thing. So when he named it, people gave money to him because thinking it is for Sri Guru Ram Das Khalsa School, which it was not. Now, but he never told those people that gave the money that, hey, I own the property. It's not Sri Guru Ram, it's my name on it. I just named my corporation as Sri Guru Ram Das. Now, that's not the only thing that he did. There are 3 others, or excuse me, 2 others. The one on Terabuna Road, he did the same thing out there. He would have those corporations open as such, and then a couple of years, 3 years, few years down the road, he will abolish them. Now, people did ask him for the money, as they mentioned here at one time, and he said, hey, I spent it on things at the for the property. Now, out of those 7 acres, only 1.6 acres left. The rest he sold it for profit. The same scenario over on Terabuna. If you look, Google it, you will see the people in India still calling it that Mr. Didar S. Bains donated 14 acres to the Akal Takht or the Shiromani Dal Committee, which he never had. Now, out of those 14 acres, there's only 5 left. So, meaning is that the name that the city is trying to upheld, saying it's a Punjabi community, that name is no good to it. Majority of the Punjabi community is against that name. In fact, 10 days ago, I was over at the temple talking about it, and the only response that I could hear, the situation that Mr. Didar Bains is in, he got what he deserved. So again, you know, there are things, and I am hoping to resolve this problem shortly with the help of the council, whichever way it goes. But we definitely do not want that park to be named Didar Bains, no matter what. So we're working toward it. All these people, Punjabis that are here, they are member of the Gurdwara, and they don't, you know, they walk around and do this. So at all time, that name is no good because he has done so many things. It would take me days and days to if I have to go through item by item. So therefore, you know, I hope that you have considered not naming that park as Didar Bains, or, you know, that we will do what we have to do because that name does not justify the city of Yuba City or the Punjabi citizens in Yuba City. Now, when I say Punjabi, you know, the early stages here in Yuba City, most of the people were from Punjab. That's why they were called Punjabi, even though the people in here call them Hindus. I'm sorry, but we'll talk about it next time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Joel. All right, I do have a speaker card from Heather Essman.
Good evening. So Heather Esselman, 2020 Lincoln Road. I'm a Yuba City resident. First of all, I wanted to thank whoever it was. I don't know if it was Councilman Harris or if it was Ms. Langley for inviting me to the meeting on Monday for the bike path. I really appreciate being able to put in some input, and there were 3 of us that were really kind of challenging some of the ideas, and there's some design questions as far as where to go to link things up. But in general, the project is really sorely needed, particularly, and the one thing that I worry about is the pedestrian overcrossing at 99 and whether or not that kind of kills the whole deal when people are waiting for grant money and things like that. We really need to get something behind Walmart because there's no real way to connect that park. Once it opens up, it's really key to try and get that so that people aren't just going through Walmart parking lot, which isn't always the most safest place, evidently. And I was actually hoping that maybe somebody from Blue Zones would be involved in that as well, considering that's part of one of the projects that the city has been working on. They didn't have anybody from Blue Zones there, which I thought was, you know, really up in their alley. But I do appreciate the invitation, and I hope that if there's any way that, you know, that things don't fall apart based on that pedestrian overcrossing, because that's the remainder of that would be so helpful, particularly from San Brennan down to Plumas and from Walton over to the park. And I went by the park and they already have the little toilet house, the little restrooms there. They're so cute. Sorry, it's cute. So if you drive by there, take a look. It's this little greenhouse. It looks very nice. So
Don't use them yet.
yeah, so I don't think it's open because there's a fence around it right now. I'm sorry, Councilman, but I'm impressed. I am kind of maybe talk to Brad about it. The path was really low. I mean, if you drive by and you look, it's really low in the landscaping. I'm hoping it doesn't end up flooded, but I'm sure there's a plan for that. But anyways, I just wanted to say thank you.
Thank you. All right. Is there any other comments from anyone else in the public tonight? Is there any additional public comments? Any additional public comments? All right. Hearing none. Thank you both. We will move on to the consent calendar. All matters listed under consent calendar are considered to be routine and can be enacted in one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items prior to the time that council votes on the motion unless members of the city council request specific items to be discussed or removed from the consent calendar for individual action. We have the consent items 3 through 6. Is there any comments from the public tonight on items 3 through 6? Any comments from the public? Hearing none, bring it back to the council for questions, comments, or action.
Through the mayor, move to approve consent calendar as proposed.
Second.
All right, I have a motion by Councilmember Baumgarten and a second by Councilmember Espandola. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Items carry. We will move on to agenda item 7. Yuba City Lighting and Landscape Maintenance District number 5. Zone of benefit is C10, the Henson Ranch, phase 1. And we do not have Ben there tonight. Josh.
Oh, there it goes. Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Thanks for having me again. Tonight, I have a couple of presentations for you, both of them lighting and landscape maintenance districts. The first one will be District number 5, Zone of Benefit C10, Henson Ranch, Phase 1. So this district in particular is a residential lighting and landscape district with about 96 parcels within it. You can see right here, this is the proposed Henson Ranch Phase 1. This district is very similar in character based on just the types of improvements that are going to be installed to a recent subdivision that I think it's in process of being completed, but Hooper Ranch Phase 2 just north of that. The area is east of Hooper Road, just west of El Margarita Road, north of North Calusa Frontage Road, and it's south of Jefferson Road. So, like I said, existing zone of benefit C10 was established in 2021 for the Hooper Ranch Phase 2 subdivision. Henson Ranch Phase 1 is requesting an annexation into the zone of benefit per the conditions of approval for the development. Like I said, it has 96 parcels that are going to be in there. The items that are going to be maintained through the lighting and landscape district include street lighting, street trees and landscaping, street end barricades and chain link fencing associated with that, and then storm detention components. In particular, this subdivision, instead of having a detention pond, it has what's called a storm scepter, which kind of intakes any of the storm drainage, filters it out before it enters into our storm drainage system. The city has recently modified created and modified several zones of benefit for commercial and residential projects. Annexation process typically includes multiple council resolutions, public hearings, and observation of rights of majority protest. The process can be expedited at the request of the owners being annexed. The owners of Henson Ranch did state that they would like to expedite the process. The expedited process includes one public hearing for the annexation and then adopting a resolution which confirms and orders the annexation and levy of assessments. The levy amounts were determined through the creation of the engineer's report. The engineer's report contains a detailed engineer's estimate for the annual maintenance costs for all the previously discussed items. And once the resolution is approved, the city will file the engineer's report with the county. The fiscal impact for zone of benefit C10 is the revenue for the parcels will cover the maintenance and administration costs for the district. The assessment amount is $108.79 per lot, or for all 96 lots, around $10,444 annually. This district does have COLA provisions included, which will allow us to adjust the district's levy amounts based on inflation from January to January. We have two alternatives. One would be not annexing Zone Z10 and funding the street lighting, landscaping, and other improvements from alternative sources. The other alternative would be to direct staff to begin the typical long form lighting and landscape maintenance district annexation procedure. We don't recommend either of these alternatives. Our recommendation tonight is to conduct a public hearing and then to adopt a resolution confirming and ordering annexation of the parcel associated with Henson Ranch Phase 1 development, assessor's parcel number 62-082-018 into existing lighting in Landscape Maintenance District 5, Zone of Benefit C10, and establishing a levy of assessments for the annexed territory. Do you have any questions?
Is there any questions from the council tonight? Okay, hearing none, then we will move to the public hearing. The public hearing for the Yuba City Lighting and Landscape Maintenance District Number 5, Zone of Benefit C10, Henson Ranch Phase 1 is now open. If there are any members of the public who would like to address the council on this issue, please provide your statement via public comment and state your name and address for the record. Do I have any public comments at this time during this public hearing? Any comments during the public hearing? Any comments during the public hearing? Okay, hearing none, we will close the public hearing and bring this back to the council for action.
Through the mayor,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt a resolution confirming and ordering annexation of the parcel associated with Henson Ranch Phase 1 Development, APN 62-082-018 into existing Yuba City Lighting and Landscaping Maintenance District Number 5, Zone of Benefit C10, and establishing a levy of assessments for the annexed territory.
I have a motion. I have a by the vice mayor. I have a second by Councilmember Harris. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Motion carries. We will move on to agenda item 8, which is Yuba City Lighting and Landscape Maintenance District Number 6, Zone of Benefit B15, 769 Garden Highway.
Thank you once again, Mayor and City Council. The second exciting item we're going to be talking about tonight is Lighting and Landscape District Number 6, Zone of Benefit B15, 769 Garden Highway. So this is, unlike the other one, this district or this zone of benefit is entirely commercial. It's a single parcel, and it's only maintaining a street light. So this development is north of Lincoln Road, just west of Garden Highway, and then south of Winship Road. We're annexing this parcel into the existing lighting and landscape district that was for recycling industries. They have very similar characteristics as they both only maintain a few streetlights. So the existing zone of benefit was established in 2019 for recycling industries. 769 Garden Highway is requesting to be annexed into this zone of benefits per the conditions of their building permit. It's a single parcel development and only maintains streetlights. The city recently created and modified several zones of benefit for commercial and residential projects. That process, once again, is adopting multiple council resolutions, holding multiple public hearings, and observing the rights of majority protest. As stated with the first presentation, the annexation process can be expedited at the request of the owners being annexed. The owners of 769 Garden Highway did express that they wanted to expedite the process. And this process is just composed of holding one public hearing and adopting a resolution which confirms and orders annexation and the levy of assessments. The levy amounts will be determined through the creation of the engineer's report. The report contains the detailed estimate of the annual maintenance costs, and the city will file the engineer's report with the county after resolution adoption. The revenue for the parcel is going to be used to provide power, maintenance services, and admin costs for the streetlights, and the assessment amount annually is $56.15, which is subject to annual inflation. Our recommendations tonight, our alternatives tonight are to not annex the area into Zone B15 and fund the street lighting from alternative sources. We could also direct staff to begin the typical long form LLMD annexation procedure. Once again, we don't recommend these alternatives. What we recommend is to conduct a public hearing and adopt a resolution confirming and ordering annexation of the parcel associated with 769 Garden Highway Development, APN number 53-400-80 into Yuba City Lighting and Landscape Maintenance District 6, Zone of Benefit B15, and establishing a levy of assessments for the annexed territory. I'd be happy to answer any questions this time.
Are there any questions from the council? All right, seeing none, we will move to the public hearing. The public hearing for the Yuba City Lighting and Landscape Maintenance District Number 6, Zone of Benefit B15, 769 Garden Highway is now open. If there are any members of the public who would like to address the council on this issue, please provide your statement via public comment. State your name and address for the record. Do we have any comments for this public hearing? Any comments during this public hearing? Any comments during this public hearing? Hearing none, we will close the public hearing and bring this back to the matter back to the council. Questions or actions?
Through the mayor.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt a resolution confirming and ordering annexation of the parcel associated with the 769 Garden Highway Development APN 53-400-080 into existing Yuba City Lighting and Landscaping Maintenance District Number 6, Zone of Benefit B-15, and establishing a levy of assessments for the annexed territory.
Have a motion?
Second.
I have a motion by the vice mayor. I have a second by Councilmember Boomgarden. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Motion carries. Josh, thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Through the mayor.
Yes, sir.
Can I ask a quick related question? Notice we're doing all these lighting and landscaping districts.
Please.
Approximately how many homes are under construction or near soon to be under construction?
I don't have that number off the top of my head. I know we have about 4 subdivisions right now, Ben, or maybe Ben might be a little bit better to answer the question. A few hundred right now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Moving on to agenda item 9, revised lateral police officer and lateral dispatch recruiting incentive program. Chief, you have the floor.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight before us, we're going to have a discussion about our lateral dispatcher and lateral police officer and hiring incentive program. Law enforcement is not exempt from the issues that all industries are having in acquiring and attracting qualified applicants that want to get into the profession of law enforcement. And that's across the board with both officer ranks and our dispatch center as well. Currently, we have the current program is a referral incentive of $2,500 if a current employee gets a lateral officer to apply and go through the process and is successfully hired by the police department. That lateral officer is also given a $15,000 hiring incentive and about a 40-hour sick leave bank. That incentive is paid out over time. It's not just a one-time payment to that lateral officer. We currently have a $5,000 hiring incentive for academy graduate. Those are folks that put themselves through the police academy and they successfully complete the academy. If we hire them, we give them that bonus as well. Same for dispatch. As far as the referral incentive for the City of Yuba City employee of $2,500, and we also have a hiring incentive of $10,000 plus the initial sick leave bank of 40 hours for a lateral dispatcher. Currently, we have 6 officer vacancies with 4 anticipated retirements by the spring of 2023. Trying to hire 10 brand new officers, either academy graduates or police recruits where we sponsor them, and I'll talk about that here in a minute, will greatly impact our patrol experience. And that's not something that we want to do. We want to have a good mix of experience amongst the patrol group within the police department. Right now we have 5 dispatch openings with 1 dispatcher looking to attain employment at a Placer County agency. So with officers, the ways we hire them, either lateral, which is an experienced officer with more than 1 year of experience, or possession of a California Basic Post Certificate, which is the preferred way because we're getting an experienced officer into the ranks that can progress through our training program faster and they already know how to do the job. Academy graduate, I touched on that. And then the police recruit program, where we hire people that want to get started in a career in law enforcement. We put them through our hiring process. We then pay to send them to the police academy that is funded by the city. We pay them a salary. So it's a fairly expensive way to hire folks. Dispatchers, there's really no dispatch academy. So trying to find somebody that has a background in dispatch education, that really doesn't exist. So we hire those folks as an entry level person more times than not, or again, the lateral option, which is pretty similar to that as an officer. These are some of the agencies across Northern California that are using hiring incentives for lateral police officers. Reading PD has a $40,000 stipend. Paradise, as you can see, has 40. Dixon PD has 30. Fairfield has 20. Vacaville has 20. Scotts Valley has 40. This is a thing that's happening across the state. I know Antioch PD just came up with a program offering up to $60,000 for some housing relocation and that type of thing. So tonight, staff is proposing that for a lateral hiring incentive, it be moved up to $45,000. That'll be broke down over a 3-year period. $12,500 upon hire, $10,000 upon completion of the FTO program, another $12,500 after 18 months of city employment, and then a final payment of $10,000 upon 36 months of employment, and maintain the 40 hours of sick leave. Dispatcher is being proposed at $22,500, $7,500 upon hire, $5,000 upon completion of the training program, $5,000 upon 18 months, and $5,000 upon 36 months, in addition to the 40 hours of sick leave. The fiscal impact, I talked about sending recruits to the police academy. So from day one to where that recruit is performing at a solo level, patrolling the streets of Yuba City by themselves, is about 11 months and about $82,000 in costs. That's academy costs, uniform costs, that type of thing. Whereas as a lateral officer, their training program is greatly reduced in time, even with the $45,000 incentive, the fiscal impact of about $62,000. So a fairly significant savings, but we're also gaining valuable time and experience from a lateral. Lateral dispatcher, it's an additional $12,500, but these costs will be absorbed through salary savings that we have in the department. Alternatives, do not adopt the resolution and provide city staff with the direction to amend the recommendation. So the recommendation is to adopt a resolution authorizing a revised lateral officer and lateral dispatcher recruiting incentive program. With that, I'll take any questions.
Any questions from the council?
Through the mayor,
Sir.
Are ex-CHP officers eligible for this program?
Well, that brings no. I think he's been retired too long now. I don't think.
What? Yeah.
You weren't on TV. I'd have something to say right now.
But no, council members are not eligible for the referral program, nor are the city manager or department heads.
I appreciate the analysis and the effort to go through and show what we're currently paying to get an officer through the recruit program and what we hope the lateral officer brings. I guess the only concern I have, and I've mentioned this before, is we just continue to get into an escalation deal where this will be ours and then someone will, as you mentioned, I think there's already somebody even higher than that. But, I trust that if we can provide the working conditions and within the department and equip, and I know our community values its police officers, that'll be just as important, keeping them around.
Yes, since 2015, we've hired 10 or 11, and only one is left, and that was due to a service retirement. So that's good.
It's a good stat. Thank you.
Any other questions from the council?
To the mayor, I think that you have really dived in to try to find ways to bring on people that really would hopefully stay within our policing. And I commend you for doing that and for bringing options that are well thought out, actually based, and with good intention to retain and recruit potential staffing within the dispatching, because there is no training, right? How do you go about trying to bring in individuals if they're interested in or joining our team here?
A lot of people that get into dispatch know somebody, either in that's an officer or another dispatcher, and it's a tough job, and it takes it's a very hard job to recruit for. And so what we do is try and get the word out. Our recruiting team that Commanders Runyon and Eshman have been kind of spearheading the last several months, have really made a push to go to job fairs and really expand our horizons on, getting ourselves out there, getting our name out there, getting our brand out there to try and attract those folks to us.
And I understand that sometimes they step in and help when there's gaps in that situation of dispatching, right? And so.
Yes, we have a couple members of our staff were former dispatchers, and so they'll go in and assist when staffing levels get a little depleted due to whatever it is. And so that's been a big help for us.
Great. Well, I think this is a good option. Thanks.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions from council? Before we go to the public, Chief, thanks for bringing this forward. In the private sector, we kind of call this headhunting, but it's the environment we live in. It's if you want the talent and you want the personnel, you got to take care of them. You got to incentivize it for bringing it forward. And like Mark said, thanks for the analysis. Really appreciate it. So with that, we'll move it out to comments from the public. Any comments from the public? Any comments from the public? Hearing none, I will bring it back to the council for action.
Simply through the mayor, I'd just like to move to approve staff recommendation. Adopt a resolution authorizing a revised lateral officer and lateral dispatcher recruiting incentive program. I think it's going to be a very good program and a very positive step in the right direction to get some people in those tough to fill jobs.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Councilmember Harris and a second by Councilmember Boongarden. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Motion carries. Chief,
Thank you.
go forth and hire. So we will go to agenda item 10, purchase of a Lenco Bearcat armored vehicle. I will preface this with how do I get one? All right.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. So I'm just going to give you a quick rundown of what we currently have and why we're here. At the moment, we have 2 armored vehicles at the police department, both of which came from the 1033 program, which is a program where the federal government releases military equipment that's no longer in use to municipalities throughout the country. So that's how these 2 were obtained. The top one there is what's called the MRAP. It's very large if you haven't seen it. While it's protected us well, it is very large in size, and say about half the time we're not able to use it just based on some of the small streets we have to get into. The other issue being that it's very costly to repair. Our Corp Yard guys have done a great job, but it's constantly breaking down on us. It's just a unique vehicle. There's not a very common parts and pieces of that vehicle. Vehicle below, built in the 80s. It's called Peacekeeper. We use that quite often, but it doesn't really fit everyone in it. Not only that, it does not offer the ballistic protection that we're currently facing out in the field sometimes. So both military vehicles in appearance and size. The top vehicle also requires a Class B license, which almost no officer has. So we have to have the fire department drive it for us in operations. So we've been making it work, but you really needed to add that.
Did you really have to say that?
They're always happy to do it for us, though. We appreciate it. So this is the industry standard, I'll say, for a armored vehicle for police departments. It's made by Lenco. It's called a Bearcat. It's much smaller in size, built for city use, has 4 doors, fits the entire team inside of it. Most importantly, offers the current necessary ballistic protection that we face these days. It's customized more to our needs, and as you quote one out, you add certain things that you know you're going to use. Does not require a Class B license, so we don't need the firemen anymore. So it can be used by all staff during any kind of a mass casualty event as an evacuation vehicle. Additionally, it's built on a Ford platform, which is familiar to our courtyard, so parts and replacement is not going to be as difficult as the previous slides. The Lenco Industries Incorporated is the one that makes these. They're the sole manufacturer of Lenco Bearcats. Again, it meets our current mission needs and protections. Maintaining one vehicle that's new with more accessible parts is going to be much cheaper in maintenance over the years than two vehicles that are severely outdated. The Peacekeeper, those guys at the courtyard have done an awesome job, but it's falling apart. So total vehicle cost as quoted was $326,584.63. We, during the 2022-23 budget, it was approved to use $155,000 one-time use funds from the vehicle replacement fund, and the remaining purchase of the vehicle would be through the COPS grant funds of $171,848.63. So alternatives are that we don't purchase a new armored vehicle. The recommendation is that we approve the capital acquisition of a Lenco Bearcat armored vehicle for the Yuba City Police Department and adopt a resolution awarding the purchase of a Lenco Bearcat to Lenco Industries Incorporated of Pittsfield, Massachusetts, as the sole manufacturer of Lenco Bearcats, with the finding that it is in the best interest of the city. Authorize the finance director to utilize $155,000 in one-time funds from the vehicle replacement fund, which is 6610-69401, and $171,848.63 in COPS grant money for 2180-69401. Do I have any questions before I? Oops.
Any questions from the council? Any firemen that would like to drive?
Firefighter, so you say. No, they don't just sit in recliners. How long before we see it?
Get on the build plan in 9 to 12 months, they say.
So 12 months just to get started on it, or 12 months to delivery?
Deliver it.
Oh, okay.
All said and done.
Okay. Well, I appreciated the efforts you all put through when we were going through the budget to explain exactly why this is much more, what's the right word? It's a better piece of equipment for you and your guys and gals to do their job. So this is something that, again, if we can continue to support our police department, provide them with the kinds of equipment they need to do their challenging business, I'm all for it.
Right. Any other comments?
Definitely. Yeah, completely agree with Councilmember Boongarden. I also like the fact that this one happens to be, we're not playing Mr. Potato Head with military vehicle. It's purpose built for law enforcement, which I think would add comfort and efficiency and safety, which is really good to hear. So good call on finding that one.
Any other comments, questions?
Through the mayor, I was curious, and I brought this up when I met with Diana. You know, the other two vehicles, is there a trade-in offer? Yeah. Can you work something out for us? No, I'm just wondering, or where do they go? What do you do with those?
Back to the military boneyard. Honestly, they usually put them out there to agencies, just anyone that wants to take them, but we see it all the time where 8 cities are just saying we got to get rid of these things. They're just costly and not, built to our needs.
Okay. Well, the new vehicle looks great. I would love to have a ride once we get it. So, but I'll sit in the back seat, not in the front seat. Probably, yeah. You can drive it. I'll hang out in the back seat just for test. Thanks.
Right. Let's go out to public comments. Are any public comments in regards to this? Any public comments in regards to this agenda item? Any public comment? Hearing none, we're going to bring it back to the council for action.
Through the mayor, I'd
Yes.
like to move to authorize the finance director to, wait, A and B, recommendations. There we go.
Have a motion?
Second.
Have a motion by Councilperson Espandola and a second by the Vice Mayor. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Thank you. We will move to agenda item 11, donation and facility use agreement between the City of Yuba City and Special Olympics Northern California. Mr. McIntyre.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the council. Brad McIntyre, your Community Services Director. I'm here this evening requesting council to consider two requests. The first is to adopt a resolution is going to authorize our city manager to execute a donation and facility use agreement between the City of Yuba City and Special Olympics of Northern California. The second is to adopt another resolution approving the name of the proposed bocce ball courts that you'll see here in a few minutes, called Matna Bocce Ball Courts per the Parks and Facilities naming policy for 20 years. Before I get started, I want to introduce, we have with us the director of our local Special Olympics, Yuba-Sutter Special Olympics, Mr. TJ Fetters. When I'm done this evening presenting, I think he might have some words that he would like to say as well. So to start with, Mr. Fetters came to staff last fall and was interested in having the city build and facilitate 4 bocce ball courts. He had received funds from the Matnas, which I will get to here in a little bit. So what we did is we went around to a variety of parks and looked at different amenities, and we kind of came up with Gaucher Aquatic Park. And the reason why we came up with Gaucher Aquatic Park was really because there's bathrooms, there's large parking, the picnic amenities surrounding the park as well. And then, of course, the Yuba-Sutter Special Olympics have been participating at the Gap with swimming activities throughout the years. So the proposed site, I want to make sure I do this right. There we go. So the proposed site is going to be on the southeast of the facility. Just to give you a perspective, this is the parking lot coming in. The front entrance is over here. The parking lot continues. There's some more shade structures back here. And then the entry, which I'll get to a little bit later, is coming in from this east side. And it is to the southeast of the main pool at Gaucher Aquatic Park. The project highlights are pretty much, as it states there, 4 bocce ball courts with synthetic turf, 4 shade structures with benches, an entry gateway, decorative safety fencing, and right now our cost estimate is around $280,000. This is an upper view of it, just again a schematic of it. You can see the 4 courts. And then there is a path between the 2 double courts. This is the playing surface. These are the shade structures, and there's 2 benches under each shade structure. And then you've got the same format, 2 playing surfaces, 2 shade structures, and 2 benches within those shade structures. You've got the facility fencing that goes around the entire bocce ball courts with the entry, one and only entry through here. There is a plan to have a gate over here that would then get access to the inside of Gaucher Aquatic Park if someone were to rent the facility and get access, so because of the snack bar that's in the facility as well. But for the most part, it's going to be locked up from this area, and it will be locked up on a nightly basis as well. One of the questions I would assume you would have is, well, who's going to lock it up? We currently have security at Gaucher Aquatic Park that does roundabouts, drive-throughs 3 or 4 times a night throughout the night. And they provide that service for some of our other facilities as well. I talked about the entry part of this. This is what the entry, the proposed, it would look like. It's just a schematic. Certainly will come before you when we go out to bid. But this is kind of what it would look like. Again, you can see the bocce ball courts in the back. Just a clarification, let me back up. The competitive pool, by the way, is going to be on this side. There are no trees, nor are we planning to plant trees in the pool. So clarify that before I get that question. The contract highlights that we're asking you to approve is a $300,000 check will be issued to the city of Yuba City once the contract has been signed. The city will be responsible for maintaining the facility and the maintenance, like I said, for 20 years. Under the facility naming request, the second request is the Montana Bocce Ball Courts. This was requested by the Yuba-Sutter Special Olympics through their estate plan of Larry and Norma Montana. They donated $300,000 to the Yuba-Sutter Special Olympics in 2022. Just check my notes. That's all I have as far as from the city's perspective. Mr. Fetters, would you like to add or certainly correct me? Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you.
Get the system down. First of all, I just would like to say thank you, Brad McIntyre and the City of Yuba City folks that worked with him on coordinating this with the Special Olympics Northern California. Of course, Yuba-Sutter Special Olympics is part of Northern California. But one thing that was very specific about this is why I contacted Brad when I did, is that we wanted this money to make sure it stayed in our community to support our local program, which has about 245 athletes. Right now, we had our past season, we had 14 bocce teams. And so the two courts that presently is at Kingwood Park, it's a pretty, it's a logistic problem at times trying to get everything together to practice 14 teams on a weekly basis. So this is going to be a great help to us, to our program, to our athletes. And bocce is a sport that is really going big for the older generation. We have a lot of athletes in their 50s, 60s, and 70s. And by having bocce, they can still get there, possibly they're on walkers or whatever else. And also, I wanted, and I really appreciate again what Brad and Yuba City Parks and Recs have done for us, honoring Larry and Norma Montana. And many of you folks, I'm sure, know this couple. Larry could be kind of abrupt at times, but Larry was my mentor. I met him in 1976, and he started me out then, and I've been with Special Olympics ever since. But this is a way to honor these two wonderful people, and I appreciate, again, everything that the city and Brad and his department have done. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll bring it back to the council for questions or comments.
Yeah, through the mayor, I appreciate the comments. They're very warm, and yes, it brings memories about Larry, some of the things, and Norma too. I mean, both had a very passion for helping special community, but just very authentic people in lots of different ways. You know, one of the things, Brad, as public comment, you heard, you know, the naming of parks. This has been kind of one of those little hot topics in our chamber recently. And just kind of doing, you know, what I said that I do, ask the question is, you know, I have no concern about the name, naming it. You know, do we open up to the public just to assure that it is a good name, which we believe, I have no opposition to it. Do you have something to add to that? Okay, you're more than welcome to add to it.
Could you go to the mic, please? They can't hear at home.
I'm glad you brought that point up, Councilman, because this is another thing that I discussed with Brad at the time. I want this to be for the community. It's not just for Special Olympics. Now, Special Olympics Northern California made them put a blip in there that we do have first choice if there's a tournament. And I do plan on having tournaments yearly now here for Special Olympics Northern California, which will have several counties from all over the northern part of California will be coming to play. But it's only to be used by everyone. And especially, I'm a big Sir now for Ranch 109, and the Sirs play bocce ball quite a lot. And we want to ensure that the public to know, the community to know, that these courts are going to be for everybody. And the only time we'll be using them is once or twice a week on practicing, but it's open for everyone. So it's not just for the Special Olympics.
Thank you for clarifying that. I mean, the naming, do we open it up for the public, or do we just kind of go with how we have it now? I'm just bringing it up because I said this to community that, hey, if we're going to name another item in our community, that I would voice this. And I want to honor my commitment to what I say. So, I mean, I have no concern. I think what you're saying is a lovely and what an amazing, community donation for them on their estate, and memorable for many, many years. Just thought I'd share that with my peers here and your thoughts about that. I just wanted to bring that up.
Any other comments from the council or questions?
Yeah, I'll say I don't think we need to open it up to the public. This family has donated $300,000 for the purpose of this court. He has friends and family that were in the Special Olympics. They're donating the money, and I think it's more than appropriate to name it after them. I also want to disclose that my mother is now a Montana. She married Larry's brother. However, it doesn't rise to the level of recusal for our city attorney. I am definitely 100% quadruple backflip in favor of naming it after the Montana family, and we really appreciate their state's donation.
Yeah, Pete was supposed to be here tonight to be with me. And, I think he might have forgot. So anyway, that's all right.
Any other comments from the council?
I have one, and then I have a question first. Is for us novice bocce ball players, is there a way, like through the gap or whatever, where they could check out bocce balls, or is it kind of like BYOB?
So the answer to your question is yes, we'll have some bocce ball sets at Gaucher Aquatic Park, just like we do at the Senior Center. The kicker with the Senior Center that will be different is that those sets are pretty heavy.
Right.
It's a heavy piece of equipment game, but these will be a lot closer to the facility as well.
Okay.
We'll teach you how to play.
I know how to play. I'll take you on any time, pal.
We have all our equipment ourselves.
Yeah.
Okay. I keep it stored up, and also I lend it out to other areas too.
Thanks. As far as recognizing Larry and Norma, I had the opportunity to work alongside Larry, which means I got yelled at times and I got praised at times through early riser Kiwanis. And I would echo Councilman Harris's comments. I'm okay with naming it. They've paid for this facility. If those who know Supervisor Montana and his wife Norma know how much they gave of themselves to this community, I'm 100% supportive of this being a Montana bocce courts. Thanks.
Vice Mayor, you have any comments?
I don't have anything to add to that other than I think that's it's noble that the family is doing something like this and making a contribution to the community. So I think it's a great idea. Thank you.
I will just echo what they said, but also a big thank you to you and Special Olympics. We talked earlier, Special Olympics is special to us. And Louise knows I don't have the pockets the Montanas did with $300,000, but anytime Louise calls, you've been to our office and do that. You do an
could make one other comment, sir.
Yes.
This community is the greatest community in the world, as far as I'm concerned. Most giving bunch of people I've ever been around. I've been doing this now for 46 years, and I've never had anything but the greatest support. And from the Yuba City Parks and Rec, they have been in my corner all the way. And I really appreciate everything from the city and the community.
Definitely. We have a great team. It's, I just wanted to say thank you because not only following with the Matna's wishes, Special Olympics brought it back to Yuba City to see it here. So a big thank you from myself. And I totally concur. The Matnas were a top-notch people. So with that, we'll go out to public comment. Is there any public comment on this? Any public comment? Hearing none, I will bring it back to the council for action.
The mayor.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to adopt a resolution which authorizes the city manager to execute a donation and facility use agreement between the city of Yuba City and Special Olympics Northern California, Inc. Also to adopt a resolution approving the name of the proposed bocce ball courts, Matna Bocce Ball Courts, per the park and facilities naming policy for 20 years.
Second.
I have a motion by the vice mayor. I have a second by Councilmember Harris. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Motion carries. Thank you again. We will go to agenda item 12, rezone 22-01 to remove the X8 district overlay located east of the intersection of Sutter and Market Streets. Mr. Moody, will you please explain that Greek to us?
All right. So the item before you tonight is pretty much just as stated. It's really to bring forward for consideration to remove overlay zone that was put in there in the late 90s. It's old. It's outdated. It was put there for specific. And so with that, we'll work through the process. So rezone 22-01 and so a few months back, Ample Health and their representatives reached out to us with a project for campus development, where they're going to multi-phase, where there's going to be some small expansions and potential new buildings. And so in this area, adjacent to Market Street, just north of Sutter Street, 10th Street Bridge area there. Thank you very much, Brian. There's Ample Health. There's an existing facility along the road front, and there's some vacant property in the front. And so when you look at the zoning on there, there's an overlay district, this X8, that puts some specific criteria on there that typically you see, for specific development. So some boundary information for those that are not aware. It's pretty much infill. Really, to the north, there's a mobile home park. To the east, you get into the concrete plant, the Von Geldern kind of industrial area, and the levee. And then to the west, you have Market Street and associated different commercial and industrial uses. So you see this area. So the project area is specific to the yellow. And so really what we're proposing tonight is to go from this CO X8, so this commercial office zoning with the X8 overlay, to a CO. So we're going to keep the commercial office. We're just proposing to remove the X8 zoning. And so the purpose of an overlay is typically to apply a specific development criteria that might be important for the important proper development of a parcel or a group of parcels, to modify adopted development standards to accommodate innovative approaches to the site. And so where we've seen this a lot is similar to our growth policies, or some of these where the city was in the process to implement standards that maybe we didn't have documented at the time. So in the 90s, in the late 90s here, there was a concurrent effort going on to straighten out Southern Market Street in the off-ramp off the 10th Street Bridge that got built in 99, early 2000s, right in that time frame. And so when this zoning came in and that land was developed, they put this overlay on there with some conditions on how to see that develop. And one of those conditions, so here's the X8 overlay, is how it's written. And they put out specific stuff about a 5-foot wide planter strip, a temporary fencing, grading operations, really project specific conditions. But the real the big one here is a roundabout with a radius of at least 55 feet shall be installed at the intersection of Market Street and Del Norte. And so when staff looks at that, it really doesn't make sense anymore. You know, it's old. If you're going to, with the construction that occurred in 99, 2000, where Sutter Street was connected, the median was built here. Really, that's not the place where staff would support a roundabout currently, and with how the facility is implemented. And then it's really outdated because the construction improvements have been brought together. But with that being in the code, it's how do you move forward when they come forward with a project? And so really one of the steps with their development plan was, let's get rid of this overlay zone so we're not having to worry about it. And so they put in an application to remove it. And then with that, we had them prepare a traffic analysis, not just for this, but also for their site, because we know that this is going to trigger a development plan for the bigger site when it comes in on how we're going to handle the traffic and other mitigations. And so through that traffic analysis, the traffic consultant, he also recommended that it's not needed. And so as a basis for that, with the analysis, the future development, we're saying that, hey, with Public Works support and with the traffic analysis that also supports the removal of that at full development, we're recommending to remove this overlay zone. And so with that, an environmental assessment was prepared for the project in accordance with CEQA guidelines. Based on the attached environmental assessment, staff has determined that there's no evidence in the record the project will have a significant effect on the environment and recommends adoption of a negative declaration for this project. And so with the rezone, we need to have findings, just like with any other project that would have to do with the zoning. And so we're saying it's consistent with the general plan goals and policies. If you look at the circulation plan, the current configuration is how the general plan circulation is without the roundabout. It's consistent with the purpose of the zoning ordinance, and we don't saying it won't have a negative impact on open space, light, air, and the protection of public and private improvements. So with that, logistically, we're looking to conduct a public hearing, then adopt a resolution of the City Council to approve environmental assessment 22-02, and then introduce an ordinance of the City Council rezoning 2201. And then with the zoning action being an ordinance change, I'll be back before you at a future meeting to confirm it. And then also with that, this one's interesting with the environmental, that we'll also be confirming the environmental. So with that, I recommend items A through C.
All right. Any questions from the council? Okay. Hearing none. We will, the public hearing on the rezone 22-01 to remove the X8 district overlay located east of the intersection of Sutter and Market Street is now open. If there are any members of the public who would like to address the council on this issue, please provide your statement via public comment and state your name and address for the record. Do we have any public comments on this item? Any public comments on this item? Any public comments on this item? Hearing none, I am closing the public hearing and bringing this matter back to the council.
Through the mayor, if I may.
Yes, sir.
Before you take a vote on it, just a point of clarification, and on section 7 of the ordinance, it should be the effective date of the ordinance, not resolution. There's a little typo that slipped through there. And item B doesn't need to be read, but item C does need to be read.
Okay. Thank you. So duly noted, typo correction, and C does need to be stated as part of your motion. So do I have an action by the council?
Through the mayor,
Yes, ma'am.
I move that we adopt in the report, it says 2, and up there it says B, right?
We go with the report.
Okay, so item 2, and introduce an ordinance of the city rezoning 22-001 located east of the intersection of Sutter Market Street to remove the X8 district overlay and waive the first reading. Am I reading it correctly? That's what I'm seeing in the report.
You did? I'll second that.
Okay.
Did we cover everything, Mr.
Did
Chaffin?
we cover? I'm seeing puzzle phases over there.
There were some APN numbers. So if I understand it, it'd be an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Yuba City rezone 2201 for Ampla Health site located north of State Route 20 on parcels east of the intersection of Sutter Street on Del Norte Avenue, APNs 51550 029, 51550 30, 51550 40, 51550 41, 51550 42, and 51550 43. Is that correct?
Thank you, City Attorney, that is my motion.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion by Councilmember Espandola, a second by Councilmember Harris. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed say nay. The ayes have it. Thank you, Mr. Moody. We'll move on to agenda item 13. Future agenda items. Is there anything that the council from tonight wants to be brought back at a future agenda? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to reports communication. We'll start with Ms. Langley, our city manager.
So thank you. With the heat this week, it is impacting some of our operations. So Brad McIntyre noted that all softball games have been postponed this week due to the heat. And then also we're encouraging staff to take it easy in the afternoon in the when it's the hottest part of the day. Also, just a reminder to Yuba City residents that you can put your food waste in the green bin, and we encourage you to put your food waste in the green bin. I know it can be kind of a nuisance to have to separate the food waste, but it helps us to comply with the SB 1383 requirements related to organics. And then in regard to our water conservation numbers, we're doing okay as a city. The target was 20% reduction. And in May, we actually had, we're 3% higher as compared to 2020. In June, we had a conservation amount of 8%, July 13%, and August 11%, all compared to 2020. So we are happy to see a reduction. We encourage people to comply with the watering restrictions in terms of watering only on Mondays and Thursdays. However, please water your trees to keep them alive. We don't want dead trees. And just encouraging folks to continue to conserve water. So thank you.
Thank you. Council reports. Councilmember Espandola.
Thank you, Mayor. Thanks, Diana, for the update on the how well are we doing on the conservation of water. It's concerning because we really need to do a better job as a community. I was in a group and I asked the question, and most of the people in the group knew that it was Monday and Thursday. Now I think we just need to practice it more. So I think we could do much better than those numbers as we look in the northern region. So the meetings that I was participated in the last several weeks, or 2 weeks, I would say, Regional Water Authority, we had an executive board meeting. We reviewed the director's evaluation and finalized that discussion. We also had a meeting on the Federal Affairs Standing Committee Board that I'm part of, and we discussed the Inflation Reduction Act. And one of the things that included in the Inflation Reduction Act that was discussed, a $4 billion for water basins in the West Coast and Southern California. So that means specifically for infrastructure in that area may open up funding availability to other jurisdictions because they are identifying $4 billion specifically for that water basin. And I think that'll help us as a city, perhaps for our outfall diffuser and other projects for funding because of this particular funding that they just opened up. Also, we discussed the governor's water supply strategy and the leadership that is working directly with the feds to bring additional resources to California. That the governor has identified a specific group of strategic partners that are helping him. One, Antonio Villagrosa, who ran for governor many years ago and was on the legislation. He's one of his key contact individuals who is working with the governor who helped develop the strategy for this particular plan that the governor has laid out. And we also talked about Section 219 funding is underway, and hopefully I'm hoping for our city to be included in that in the future. It's tough to get included on that list, as Diana knows very well, but hopefully we are competitive enough to get on that list. I've been pursuing that for the last year. Also with our city, it was a great honor. Many of us attended our Yuba City Fire Department. I know our Chief Alexander's on teams, but your team did an amazing job on the badging and pinning ceremony. It was such beautiful speeches, just a moment for family and friends to honor all the hard work of our firefighters and that work for our city. I also want to point out statewide, I want to congratulate some local partners who I've been working with to help, and they have identified and been able to receive $75 million for the drought relief grant program that is going to help many in the ag industry. There's a portion of that money that is going to go 20% for disadvantaged and smaller ag businesses to help them during the drought. Also participated in, attended the ACWA, which is the Association of California Water Agencies. We had our Region 2 board meeting, and just it happened to be that we were discussing about the EPA, the PFAS and the PFOS and all that. And then a few days later, EPA puts out guidelines regarding how to work within those two specific areas. The discussion that was brought up in this meeting was referencing wildfires and the chemical use perhaps in mitigation of these fires. That was a discussion around at the Region 2 board meeting. Also, Yuba Water Agency received a $40 million federal project for the next several years. They're going to be doing some forestry landscape and mitigating wildfires in the Yuba County region, northern in that area and Tahoe. Also, and we also discussed about what we're going to provide for present at the fall conference, and a proposed program that we were talking about to present at the conference is on water theft. What is occurring around water theft and how individuals can be more focused on that. And then I also participated and chaired the Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Women in Water for Aqua, and there were 40 participants in that particular meeting, and Valley Water, one of the larger water districts in the state that has a budget over $500 million, has a very thriving DI program, and they highlighted that program in our presentation, and it's one of the models in the state. And they're going to be putting all of these thoughts and ideas into content and sharing it through the membership as Aqua does. And that's all I have to report. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Harris.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I continue to participate when I can on the Habitat for Humanity calls weekly or bi-weekly with those folks, continue to discuss their options for continue to build low-income housing in our community. SACOG, we had the board meeting, a land use natural resource meeting, and the strategic planning meeting since our last meeting. And they continue to discuss, again, the strategic plan is fabricated upon the triple bottom line of equity, environment, and economy, which is what I've spoken about here before. We got that moving forward. Lunar Committee, the Land Use Natural Resources Committee, we had a presentation from the city of Citrus Heights on the old Sunrise Mall property, which is 100 acres, sitting there pretty much dormant and kind of an eyesore for many years. And they've come up with a really nice plan and a funding strategy or mechanism to get it going. They're going to convert that into, they call it Sunrise Tomorrow and Sunrise Marketplace. It's a multi-phased mixed-use development, which should have residential and commercial and retail and entertainment, and more of a, rather the mall used to be kind of an 8 to 5 situation, but it's going to be more of a 24/7, more of a destination. So it's the renderings looked really encouraging. I even told them I was a little bit jealous because they had some really good stuff going on. And then of course we approved the prioritization and the regional trail network strategy. Again, that's how the regional trail networks, the different municipalities have their own little segments that we're all rooting for. I think, and Heather spoke about our meeting that we had. SACOG was included in that here at City Hall regarding our section. And so, of course, when we get the money, we have to filter it out somewhere and disperse it. And that comes with, we have to establish priorities, which was worked on very thoroughly on that. Yuba-Sutter Arts continues to do a very good job. Anything anybody would like, culturally speaking, poetry, food, art, sculpture, even film is alive and well and very active at Yuba-Sutter Arts and Culture, both in Marysville and Yuba City. So I once again encourage anybody to look up what they have going on. And if you can make something, even some of them are virtual, I would highly encourage you to do that. I too intended, unfortunately not the entire time, I wasn't able to, but the Yuba City Fire Department badge pinning ceremony here with new employees, newly promoted employees, and one that has been working for a while, but he hasn't been able to go through the ceremony because of COVID and whatnot. So we were able to give him his badge officially, it's always a good time to be involved with things like that. So that is it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Along with Councilman Harris and Diana, our city manager, have been participating with Habitat for Humanity and others, Homeless Consortium, et cetera, on a potential home key application towards the end of the year. Actually, sort of drilling in again on the fact that there's opportunities out there for us. And as we get a little bit more narrow focused, we'll be bringing that back to the council. Had a meeting with the mayor and again with the city manager in regards to what's going on with the old hospital over there at Fremont Hospital. Heard some encouraging news, and there'll likely be some more on that as well. But they are actively, and by they I mean Adventist, they are actively working on trying to do something very meaningful with the tower, which is encouraging because it is starting to look a little different with unpainted 4x8 sheets all over it. But I am encouraged, and they have found some funding as well. So more to come on that. Attended the badge pinning. Nice job by the fire department while they weren't driving the Peacekeeper to have a badge pinning. Sorry, Brian. And I went to the Downtown Business Association meeting at their invitation. They've got a lot of things going on down there. They're very excited, of course, about the Plumas Street project. Said goodbye to Crystal Martin, who was their coordinator down there. She'd been there for 5 years. And they announced that Judy Brogdon would be the new Downtown Business Association coordinator for them. So I'm sure that we'll be interacting with her and all things Plumas Street and downtown business. Didn't really have a lot of meetings. However, with the departure of my colleagues, I've got nothing but meetings the next 2 days. So SACOG and LAFCO and RHA and et cetera. So anyway, that's it for now. And kudos to the staff. I know when you get in these heat spells, especially one that's as intense as this, it's just trying to keep everybody safe, but continue to deliver service is a challenge. So I appreciate the efforts of the city in what they're doing and encourage the residents to use, the cooling centers if they run into issues. I think there's at least 2, St. Andrews and the Veterans Center is what I'm understanding. And they're going to be open through Friday at this point. So thank you.
Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. So I started off with attending a Zoom Sabufka ad hoc to discuss property acquisition, which we're going to look at and I'll report on at the next meeting. Transit, we had a lengthy discussion about the different routes in downtown Sacramento. Presentation by SACOG Sustainable Community Strategy. And then we authorized the Sikh Parade shuttle. And those of you that live on that part of town, you know how important that is and the logistics during an event that brings 100,000 people to our community. The good news, great news, is one of the concerns that Transit had was the encroachment that potentially Caltrans might have on the event center across the street from Marysville High School, where there's a skating rink. And it looks like Caltrans is not going to encroach on that. So the facility will continue to run as it is, which is great news. And we also covered the 2022 annual performance report. The mayor and I were in attendance to the annual stand down ceremony, which this year was at the Yuba-Sutter Fairgrounds after 2 years of being off. 2 years being off. In the past, it was my understanding it was held down at Riverfront Park. This was the first year at the fairgrounds, and I tell you what, they do a top-notch deal. All the resources that they bring to veterans in need is incredible. So hats off to them. I attended the SALEV event. The focus at this past month's focus was at a church facility up in Oregon House, but there was a group of us that stayed in Sutter County and got a lot of good work done. And lastly, I'm surprised you didn't bring this up, Mark. Early Risers. Early Risers Quanah hit it out of the park this year with their annual Blues and Brews. How much money did they generate? Oh my gosh. So they generated $80,000 from one event and it all goes to the kids. So hats off to them. And that's all I got.
Hey, thank you. I'll keep mine short and sweet because, as you guys said, we were all in a lot of meetings together. You guys have covered it well. Just to add one thing to transit is we had a lengthy discussion on the routes in Sacramento, and they'll be doing a whole new study to find out how they're going to adjust routes. So that'll be coming up, I think, the next 6 to 8 months or so is when they'll be doing that. The badge pinning, Chief Alexander, I just want to pass this along to you and your team. The best thing that stood out to me in your badge pinning was family. And that really resonates through our fire department. And it showed itself prominently that day. So with that, again, attended meetings, and you guys are reported well. And then I was at an investment conference. So Councilmember Baumgarten, hold down the fort. The rest of the council is off to the League of California Cities in the morning. Chief, you got our back, right? Yeah, don't let him drive that big truck. With that, if there's nothing else to come before us, we will stand adjourned.
Yuba-Sutter.live's local government live streams are presented by Plumas Lake Self-Storage in Plumas Lake, where lifelong local residents are helping other residents keep things safe, providing indoor storage units, outdoor RV and vehicle parking, moving supplies, and Penske truck rentals. Details at plumaslakeselfstorage.com. Skip's Marysville Music Cafe with lessons in person and personalized. Instruments including guitars and amps, horns, strings for instruments, and a myriad of music and sound equipment. Skip's Marysville Music Cafe.